Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, the ruler of the underworld, is he a real figure? Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is renowned for his eternal vow that as long as there is a suffering being in hell, he will not achieve Buddhahood. Thus, he is revered as the ruler of the underworld. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has a profound connection with beings in the world of samsara. He was entrusted by the Buddha to be the ruler of samsara during the period between the Buddha's parinirvana and Maitreya Bodhisattva's Buddhahood. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is one of the significant bodhisattvas in Mahayana Buddhism. He has made a great vow to save all sentient beings. Who is Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva? The name Ksitigarbha is commonly used in various Buddhist texts, such as the Treatise on the Karma of Good and Evil. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is the ruler of the underworld and is a crucial bodhisattva in Mahayana Buddhism. He is often depicted holding a wish-fulfilling jewel and a staff with 6 rings, symbolizing his mission to save sentient beings from the 6 realms of rebirth. In East Asia, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is considered one of the 4 great bodhisattvas, alongside Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, and Samantabhadra, specializing in rescuing those in hell and suffering. Today, both Buddhists and non-Buddhists deeply respect Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva for his vast vow, "I will not become a Buddha until hell is empty and all beings are saved." Therefore, he is praised by Buddhas of the 3 times and trusted by bodhisattvas from 10 directions as the king of all bodhisattvas. Some people wonder if Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is a fictional character, a product of Chinese imagination. However, our research indicates that the worship of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva originated in India around the 1st or 2nd century AD, coinciding with the flourishing of Mahayana Buddhism. Evidence shows that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and related texts were included in the curriculum of the ancient Nalanda Buddhist University in Magadha. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has numerous stories associated with him. In today's video, we will present some of these stories based on various sources to explore the history of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. In Chinese and Korean Buddhist history, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, also known as Kim Gyogak, was born in 696 AD in Silla, now South Korea. He was a prince who lived in luxury but preferred a simple life and focused on learning and reading. During the Tang dynasty, after studying various philosophies and religions, he decided that the supreme truth of Buddhism aligned with his aspirations and ordained at the age of 24. After ordination, he sought solitude for meditation and eventually traveled to Mount Juhua in China, where he practiced for 75 years, living to the age of 99. During his time at Mount Juhua, he never returned to Korea. He passed away on July 30th, during the 26th year of the Kaiwan era of the Tang dynasty. 3 years after his passing, his tomb opened, revealing his body unchanged, still soft as if alive. To this day, his relics are enshrined at Mount Juhua for devotees to venerate. There are many other stories about Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, which we will cover in future videos. Now, let's delve into the name Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. In Sanskrit, the name is Ksitigarbha, which translates to earth store. However, in various texts, his name appears in different forms. 1. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. This is the common name used in various sutras. The meaning of Ksitigarbha is elaborated in the Treatise on the Karma of Good and Evil. 2. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. This name appears in the Entering the Dharma Realm chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra, translated during the Jin dynasty. Dharnik Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. This name appears in the Lama Ga Sutra, translated during the Western Qin dynasty. This sutra is another translation of the Entering the Dharma Realm chapter. 4. Ksitigarbha King Bodhisattva. This name appears in the Great Vehicle Birth Story Mind Ground Sutra, translated during the Tang dynasty. Lai Zhou of the Qing dynasty explained, ruling the underworld with freedom of will, hence titled king. The term king is broad, and this explanation is incomplete. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva exemplifies the ideal bodhisattva's selfless actions, descending into hell to save beings with his immortal vow. As long as there is a suffering being in hell, I will not achieve Buddhahood. Thus, he is revered as the ruler of the underworld. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is widely worshipped by Mahayana Buddhists in Asia. Thousands of statues of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva are enshrined in the Longmen and Dunhuang caves, indicating the locals' belief in his protection especially for travelers. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's vow is described in the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's original vow sutra. The Buddha said, Avalokiteshvara, if in the future there are good men and women who, for business, personal affairs, birth, death, or emergencies, must enter mountains, forests, rivers, or cross seas, they should recite Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's name 10,000 times before setting out. Doing so will ensure that spirits and deities will protect them, making their journey safe and pleasant, even in the face of tigers, wolves, or venomous creatures. To achieve Buddhahood, one must practice the Bodhisattva path, with each Bodhisattva making different vows to save beings. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's vow is more profound than others, as confirmed by the Earth God in the 11th chapter of the Ksitigarbha Sutra, who said, World-honored one, I have revered many great bodhisattvas, all possessing inconceivable wisdom and power to save beings. However, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's vow is deeper than others. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's ideals and deeds are described in many Mahayana scriptures, such as the Great Drum Sutra, the 10 Wheels Sutra, the Treatise on the Karma of Good and Evil, the Lama Ga Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Universal Worthy Action Chapter, the 10 Stages Sutra, and the 8 Great Bodhisattva Sutra. Notably, in the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's original vow sutra, the Buddha recounts Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's past lives and vows to save beings from suffering. These stories highlight his great vows to save all sentient beings. The prominent aspects of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's vow are filial piety and the wish to save all beings. This is evident in the following 4 chapters. 1. First chapter. In countless past lives, Ksitigarbha was a wealthy elder who, after being guided by the Buddha lion's courage complete 10,000 practices Tathagata, vowed, From now until the uncountable future, I will use various means to save beings from the 6 realms before achieving Buddhahood. Num 2. First chapter. In a past life during the time of the Buddha flower of enlightenment, Ksitigarbha was a Brahmin maiden with great virtue, but her mother, who committed many evil deeds, fell into hell after death. Out of filial piety, she performed many good deeds, dedicating the merit to her mother and praying to the Buddha for help. Through her sincere efforts, the Buddha revealed that her mother had been freed from hell and reborn in heaven. Overjoyed, she vowed, I vow to save all suffering beings from now until the uncountable future. 4th chapter. In countless past lives during the time of the Buddha. Accomplished in all wisdom, Ksitigarbha was a virtuous king who, seeing the suffering of beings, vowed, I will not achieve Buddhahood until I have saved all beings from suffering and enabled them to attain Buddhahood. 4th chapter. In countless past lives, during the time of the Buddha Lotus Eye Tathagata, Ksitigarbha was a girl named Bright Eyes with great virtue. However, her mother, who committed many evil deeds, fell into hell after death. Bright Eyes performed many good deeds and offered them to an arhat, who revealed that her mother had been freed from hell and reborn as a poor, short-lived human. Out of compassion for her mother and all beings, she vowed before the Buddha, I vow to save all suffering beings from now until the uncountable future. Through 4 great vows, 2 of them were made by Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha to save his mother out of filial piety. Therefore, the essence of this sutra has been summarized by Venerable Master Xuanhua in 8 words. Filial piety saves lives, removes suffering, and repays kindness. Thus, this sutra is also called the Filial Piety Sutra of Buddhism. The content of this sutra, as taught by the Buddha, speaks of the supreme virtues of Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha through his previous lives, especially his filial piety and his efforts to save beings. In the Mahayana Sutras, the Buddha once said, all sentient beings are parents in the past and future Buddhas. With vast wisdom as boundless as space and compassion as immense as the ocean, combined with his great vow, until the hells are empty, I will not become a Buddha. Only when all beings are saved will I achieve Bodhi. His image and vow illustrate the Buddha's saying, Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha made these great vows while practicing the Bodhisattva path. The content of the 4 great vows made by the Bodhisattva during his practice is profound. With vast wisdom and boundless compassion, he sees all sentient beings as parents and future Buddhas. Therefore, while practicing the Bodhisattva path, he vowed to alleviate the suffering of all beings. Only when no sentient being remains in suffering and all have attained Buddhahood, will he feel at peace in nirvana. One can say that Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha came to this defiled world with the sole purpose of rescuing all beings drowning in the ocean of birth and death, leading them to the shore of nirvana. Despite the obstinacy and difficulty in saving beings, the Bodhisattva remained steadfast, never retreating from his vow or abandoning the thought of saving beings. His vow to save beings is as solid as a mountain, and his beneficial actions are as deep and vast as the sea. We cannot fully praise the virtues of the Bodhisattva. Indeed, as stated in the verses of praise, even if I praise for countless eons, I cannot exhaust his merits. This is to extol the ineffable virtues of Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha in saving sentient beings. The Japanese have created numerous legendary stories about him. With a gentle and endearing face and a perpetual smile, his image has blended into the everyday thoughts and concerns of the Japanese people. His image makes one think of a country doctor, always ready to assist anyone in pain, fear, anxiety, or trouble, regardless of the magnitude. Nowadays, not only in rural areas, but even in bustling cities like Tokyo or ancient Kyoto, one can easily find small shrines dedicated to Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha at street corners or intersections. These shrines, often adorned with fresh flowers, simple offerings like candies, tangerines, and occasionally sake, are always well maintained by local residents. This reflects the deep respect and trust the Japanese Buddhists have for him. In larger shrines, devotees also offer children's clothes and Japanese sandals, believing that Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha has worn out countless pairs of sandals, tirelessly helping those in need across Japan. Particularly, offering children's clothes stems from the belief that he loves children and is the guardian deity of unfortunate children. This unique tradition is significant in Japanese Buddhism, unlike in other Mahayana Buddhist countries such as China, Korea, or Vietnam. People are unsure where this belief originated, possibly from the Sutra of the Past Vows of Earth Store Bodhisattva. According to one chapter, the deity in charge of human life and longevity, the Lord of Life, is also a bodhisattva who manifests out of compassion. During an assembly with the kings of Yama to listen to the Buddha's teachings at Trayastrimsa heaven, he requested the Buddha, when people in Jambudvipa are about to give birth, regardless of gender, they should perform good deeds and make offerings to the earth deities, bringing great joy and support to both mother and child, ensuring peace and happiness for the entire family. Or after giving birth, they should avoid killing animals for fresh food for the mother and gathering relatives to drink, eat meat, and make merry. Doing such things will prevent the mother and child from enjoying peace. In another passage praising the power of Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha, the Buddha told Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, furthermore, Samantabhadra in the future in Jambudvipa, among kings, Brahmins, elders, laypeople, and all other people, if anyone has a newborn child, within 3 days they should recite the inconceivable sutra of the past vows of Earth Store Bodhisattva, and recite the Bodhisattva's name 10,000 times. Thus, the child, regardless of past karma, will be freed from it, will be peaceful, happy, easily raised, and will live long. If born due to merit, the child will enjoy even more happiness and longevity. Not only caring for the happiness of children, Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha also attends to the fate of unfortunate children who die in infancy or as fetuses. Without any concept of self, how can they perform evil actions when their bodies only know how to crawl and roll? Infants cannot utter harsh words when they can only cry. They have no concept of malice, so how can they commit malicious deeds? They have no concept of livelihood, so how can they engage in unrighteous professions for a living? If what outsiders say is true, then an infant is like a sage or enlightened being. Where do the souls of these children go during and after the intermediate state, and how does Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha help them? Because of their young age and undeveloped minds, they cannot distinguish right from wrong or understand Buddhist teachings. Naturally, they cannot practice to attain enlightenment. As explained in the sutra, though innocent, after passing away they cannot be reborn in the Buddha's realms or pure lands. Instead, they fall into dark realms. At this moment, Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha appears, and the terrified children rush to his robes for refuge. Those who arrive late cling to his arms or staff. Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha comforts them. There is nothing to fear. "From now on, I am your parent." The demons demand the children, but the Bodhisattva uses his power to emit radiant light, scaring them away. This Japanese legend describes the suffering that even innocent children endure in the afterlife, and how only Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha can save their souls. Today, as Buddhists, whenever we chant his name, we should remember his great virtues and vows. We must learn from him, taking him as a shining example to follow. When we encounter beings in difficulty or suffering, we should generate compassion and help them to the best of our abilities. In doing so, our chanting of Ksitigarbha's name will be complete and perfect, and the merits will resonate with him. The merits of Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha. Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha attained this position due to his powerful compassionate aspiration to save all sentient beings from suffering, especially those enduring torment in hell. This aspiration was cultivated over countless eons of practice. In the Sutra of the Past Vows of Earth Store Bodhisattva, the Buddha recounts several significant lifetimes of his past. The body, being the root of suffering, is not worth regretting, but it can be used to propagate the Dharma and must be respected. These words from the great masters of old describe our body as one burdened with karma and sin. Life on earth lasts only a few decades, not worth cherishing. However, to attain liberation, we must use the illusion to cultivate truth. Whether studying the Buddha's teachings or chanting Buddha's name, we rely on this body. In times of personal calamity, chanting Buddha's name brings salvation. If a person is nearing death and a family member chants the name of a Buddha loudly on their behalf, that person, except for those with 5 heinous sins, will have their karmic debts cleared. The 5 heinous sins are extremely grave, barring escape even after countless eons. Yet, if someone chants Buddha's name for them at the time of death, these sins will gradually be eliminated. How much more so if the person themselves chants the Buddha's name, gaining immeasurable blessings and eradicating endless sins. Faith in the merits of the 3 jewels and the spiritual power of the Sangha has always been the supreme method of saving sentient beings. Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha also firmly believed in this. During his bodhisattva practice, he always offered to the 3 jewels and relied on the Buddha's power and the Sangha's spiritual might to save his parents and sentient beings. In the Sutra of the Past Vows of Earth Store Bodhisattva, it is written, "In the past, when he was the girl Bright Eyes, to save her mother from hell, she offered to an arhat and made a great vow to save sentient beings, guiding her mother from hell to the Bodhi path." Therefore, self-power and other power must be practiced simultaneously on the path to Buddhahood, as demonstrated by Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha. He has shown us this non-dual method through his practice. Vowing to save sentient beings from suffering is self-power. Relying on the merits and spiritual power of the 3 jewels is other power. Filial piety is the core of self-power, using the heart of filial piety to generate great compassion and vow to save all beings in the Dharma realm, which is other power. The Buddha taught that the blessings of filial piety towards parents are equal to offerings to the Buddha. Thus, even for monastics, filial piety is highly valued. Practicing the holy path does not neglect the common morality of the world. The Buddha taught to cut off worldly attachments and leave home to enhance filial piety, not to abandon parents as taught by erroneous views. The Sutra of the Past Vows of Earth Store Bodhisattva contains profound teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha used the deeds of Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha to illustrate a marvelous truth. The Tathagata store contains all realms, including the 10 directions, the 3,000 great thousand worlds, from Buddhas, saints, bodhisattvas, arhats, pratyeka Buddhas, Shravakas, humans, asuras, to hell beings, hungry ghosts, and animals. In the Platform Sutra it says, "Unexpectedly, the mind contains all. Unexpectedly, the mind holds myriad dharmas." Everyone has the single-minded diligence to transcend the realms created by greed, hatred, and delusion. Due to attachment and dwelling in the 6 senses, we generate desire and confusion, following the karma of hungry ghosts, animals, and hell beings. The inherently pure and bright nature can shatter ignorance, symbolized by the wish-fulfilling gem. The golden staff represents the firm and true heart, free from ignorance and false thoughts. The polluted mind is purified within ourselves. Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha uses his staff to open the 3 gates of hell, symbolizing the purity and brightness of the inherent nature that destroys the three gates of greed, hatred, and delusion. Breaking free with the light of truth, escaping ignorance, entering the Western Pure Land, we should discern the Dharma by using wisdom to choose the appropriate methods from our inherent nature. Which methods lead to enlightenment and liberation, and which lead to confusion and downfall. We should wisely use the lamp of wisdom to illuminate. The myriad Dharma of the true mind is an eternal truth, neither arising nor perishing. Ignorantly chasing after illusions is called delusion. If we generate dark thoughts, we cannot practice the virtues of the Buddha and the Bodhisattva. Knowing the true mind, the inherently pure nature, we always live with this pervasive wisdom, always living with the Buddha's enlightened nature. Dwelling in and revering the true nature, returning to the mind store, the earth store mind is returning to oneself.